Darren Tuttle here for Ferguson Roof Systems. For 43 years, Ferguson Roof Systems has been protecting Oklahoma's homes and businesses with quality roofing services. Their goal was to be the most honest and dependable roofing company in the state, all while providing free services such as lifetime labor warranty and annual inspections. Well, mission accomplished with thousands of client testimonials, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and a 5-star rating on Google. Look, the weather gives you enough to worry about, so why worry about who to trust with your roof? Call Ferguson Roof Systems today or find out more at fergusonroofsystems.com.
Hey everyone, Meteorologist Darren Tuttle back with you again. It is about 10 minutes till noon. This will be your Tuesday live lunchtime weather update. And I'm just sitting here looking. I did not get a notification from Facebook that I'm even live, which means most of you didn't either, which is very irritating. I'm going to assume then that Facebook will eventually notify everybody by the time this is wrapped up. So apologize for that if you're watching the replay of this already. That's pretty much what happened. Otherwise, you can always check me out on YouTube, also live on Rumble, and also live on Twitter. So welcome everybody who did get the notification. So, are you ready for it though? I mean, oh my goodness gracious. All right, well, here's a look outside. Not much in the way of cloud cover, some way off in the distance, but look at that temperature at the bottom left. This is my Tempest backyard weather station, and yes, you can see it says 100 degrees already. I'm not even at lunchtime. I mean, officially, to me, lunch doesn't start till like noon, but I mean, 12 o'clock and we're already 100 degrees. Gross. So we are on our way for at least a record-tying day here in Oklahoma City officially at the airport. Some of you are going to break the record, though, of 109 degrees set back in the 30s. And also in the latter years, not too long ago, we've had some records off and on over the last 50 to 100 years that we continue to every now and then we'll touch upon or break. All right, well, let's see what's going on out there. A big picture. We do have excessive heat warning. This is out here in the purple area. We also have a red flag warning, which is for fire conditions and burning. But underneath this red flag is excessive heat warning. So this continues all the way down to Texas, is what I'm saying. Also east into most of Arkansas as well. So a lot of us here in the Southern Plains suffering from the heat. Now I mentioned temperatures here in my backyard are already at 100. You can see they're already at 100 degrees in northern Oklahoma, northwest Oklahoma, southwest Oklahoma. Matter of fact, 104, 105 seems to be a hot spot down here south of Duncan in the southern parts of the state. So, whoa. And even Kingfisher about 104. Now, where you do have that southwest wind out here in southwest Oklahoma, see these little wind barbs up here gusting up around 20 to 25 miles per hour. That is where you're going to get really some heat baked in. Because anytime you get a southwest wind, you're going to crank up the temperatures across the state. Now, as far as the drought is concerned, we talked about how in my blog on Sunday, it would continue to build. Now, this is an old snapshot, July 12th. They update this once a week, and so they're going to be updating it here in a couple of days. But you will see this increase, and we call it flash drought. Which basically happens when you get temperatures this hot. On a short-term scale, really dries things up fast, and that causes what we call a flash drought. Well, we are going to have some relief, believe it or not. You're like, what? There's some good news in all this? Yeah, let's take a look at jet stream pattern. It's not all bad news, right? Okay, so let's take a look and watch how the things kind of circulate out here to the west. So, like I do on my blogs, I kind of break this down for you when I got a little bit more time to get into the detail. This is a region of high pressure out here. So it's the upper levels of the atmosphere. And air flows clockwise around a high, okay? And they form counterclockwise around a low. Like this would be a low up here skirting through this part of the country. And that'll bring them some rain. But what we're going to focus on down here is if we can get it to happen, and sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, and these guys, you have to watch them, and they don't always show up very well, but we can have these little disturbances in colors, like here's one out here, a pretty strong one, and they'll rotate around into Oklahoma. And when they do, if some other things are in place, you can at least squeeze out some isolated showers and storms. So as we go through time here, watch how the ridge kind of stays anchored out to the west. There are some little batches of energy that do rotate through Oklahoma there for a little bit. Some of them get stuck here by Friday. And the ridge kind of continues out here in the Four Corners area. But over the weekend, is forecast to kind of extend back eastward a bit over the Central Plains, at least for a couple of days. before retrograding back to the west. Now, typically, it stays out to the west. Anytime it comes over into the central plains, that's where we get a lot hotter and drier than usual. So we don't want that to happen. So we look at the close-up view of this from the NAM model this morning. Now, some of this will be what we call convective influence or contaminated. In other words, the upper level energy that's associated with this isn't quite this strong. It's usually indicative of some thunderstorms that have gotten into the model data. But the point is the signal is still there, and this is for Wednesday. So notice how this little batch of upper energy moves through into Oklahoma on Wednesday and a Wednesday evening right here into the southeastern parts of the state. Now, the good news with this is it will be working with a weak cold front at the surface. So that's going to help to cool temperatures down a little bit and also provide some rainfall. So that is what I have for you as far as the good news here in the short term. Also, the heat that we're experiencing is transitory. Now, you've heard the term transitory when it comes to inflation. That was obviously a fool's errand of a joke. But it is not a joke when it comes to this heat. This is actually going to really happen. Inflation, that ain't transitory, but the heat from today is transitory. So let me take a look at that. This is the real definition of transitory, right? So what you see is these brighter, darker reds. All right, so look at the really dark reds, 850 millibars. Okay, so look how as we head into today. So through let's go to 6 o'clock, for example. See how my cursor here shows 10 degrees Celsius? So that's the really hot stuff, just a couple thousand feet off the ground, okay? But it's that air that transfers down in a dry adiabatic air mass like what we have, which just means there's nothing to stop it. All right, it's just going to be hot and it mixes down the surface and we bake. So you can see that's focused over the central southwestern parts of the state here for today. Now, see how this little darker area of red, I'm going to go into Wednesday morning. All of a sudden, there's not much of it, okay? And then Wednesday afternoon, a little resurgence up here. We got 10 degrees across eastern Oklahoma. This is along a frontal boundary that's in place at that point in time. So you do get a little bit of heating along that frontal boundary. But that's it. So that's Wednesday. Now we're going to Thursday, all right? Where is the dark red? It's gone. What's replaced with light red, pinkish kind of colors, where temperatures are cooling down to 0, 1, 2 degrees, 4 degrees, 5 degrees. That doesn't sound like much, right? From 5 to 10 degrees Celsius, that's a huge difference. And you're going to notice it in the temperatures at the surface a little bit. So there's Thursday and a Friday. So look at that, even some cooler, -1 degree. So whoa, all of a sudden we've cooled things down just a little bit in the model data. So that's the good news that I have here for you. Well, even though we're peaking out today on the extreme heat, it's not like, this is the end of life as we know it. It's just going to be for today. All right, so and a little bit for tomorrow. But here's a look at how I discussed that in my blog on Sunday if you wanted more details about it. But let's go through time. We'll focus on sort of cluster of storms out here in northwestern Oklahoma, the Panhandle through late this evening and tonight. And then we're going to watch how this front kind of works its way in. So let me pause it let's go to noontime, 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Kind of like a little area of low pressure is developed right here over central Oklahoma. And I'm going to draw the front on here for you. We'll go to, let's just stop it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I just picked the time just to kind of highlight where this is. So the front kind of comes through northeast Oklahoma. It's very weak, by the way. Don't get your hopes up. It's not one of those crazy, really cool deals. But I guess something like this. So it kind of snakes through central Oklahoma. So good news is we have a boundary in place to maybe squeeze out some thunderstorms with approach that upper level disturbance. And so that's also the slightly good news we have here for you. Now, it'll also have to cool things down a little bit for the day after. So not for tomorrow necessarily. Depends on where you live, but definitely for the day after. It will make a few degrees difference in us for Wednesday, especially north of the front, but definitely not along and south of the front. And, of course, it comes into Oklahoma City around the middle afternoon, so we're still going to heat up. Okay, so storms. Look at this. We do have some storms that do erupt here in the evening hours. So late today into this evening, we should have some thunderstorms develop in northwest Oklahoma. Keep in mind, any storm you get in this environment, they will have a brief period of some heavy rainfall in a very small area, and it will also come with a lot of wind. And sometimes at night, even this case, you can get heat bursts. In other words, it transfers more of that hot air down to the surface overnight. So that's also in place. So we could have lows in the 80s tonight, but then you might get a temperature climb back up to 100 degrees like 2 in the morning, kind of an idea. That's what a heat burst is over a small area. All right, so look at this. You still have the scattered showers. Kind of the model is still indicating, it's a little unsettled. Still going to have some pockets of some rain around, so that's some good news I have here for you. As we head into, let's go noontime tomorrow. Model's still favoring that upper disturbance out in western Oklahoma. Look how much it's trying to generate cloud cover. It's trying to generate some showers, some elevated stuff probably in most cases. Surface-based thunderstorms will be hard to get by. But we'll see what happens. Again, don't get too excited about it, but it's just something. I'm looking for something for you. This rain signal continues a little bit stronger down along the Red River for Wednesday night into Thursday morning in North Texas and southeast Oklahoma. So a little better rain signal down there with this event. Okay, so we do have other models that do indicate thunderstorms in general that kind of pop up. I did want to show you this one only because, look at this. This is for Wednesday afternoon. It actually produced some decent thunderstorms here in Oklahoma County, all right, in central Oklahoma. The other one didn't. This one did. I'm like, woohoo, fingers crossed for this one, right? And that continues out west a little bit. And then on Thursday, I believe it was, it still had some residual energy around. Any residual boundary convergence, we might, and with that cooling aloft that I showed you, all that can combine to squeeze out a few more thunderstorms on Thursday afternoon out in western Oklahoma. So we still are going to have a little bit of rain. There's still a rain signal. It's just not overly strong, but hey, at least it's out there. Okay, so let's get to temperatures for the rest of today. Obviously, we're going to be climbing up into about 100 and, good grief, 5 to 10 to 15 degrees, depending on where you live across the state. The hottest stuff will be down here in southwest Oklahoma, where readings should approach 112 to 114. Little pocket up here west of Enid and Kingfisher will also be quite hot. Oklahoma City, again, our record is 109. We're really close to, we should stay right about 109. The models have bumped it up a degree to 110, most of them for today. But splitting hairs as we head into tonight. Let's go into 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning. This is the kicker. You get overnight lows in the 80s. That's not good. So first off, electric companies can't turn off your power, all right? Because if you haven't paid your bill, for example, if it's above 80 degrees, they're not allowed to do that. So because you could die. That's the main reason. It's for your own safety. So when temperatures are this hot, you can't cool off enough at night, both your body temperature and everything else. So that's the reason why that's a situation. But so obviously you don't want temperatures overnight into the 80s. Now northwest Oklahoma is a little bit cooler. Now, as we head into tomorrow for Wednesday, look how temperatures do climb back into the 100s. Here's 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Let me see. Let me go back to 3. Yeah, no change. Okay, so remember, we had that front that kind of snaked in along the I-44 corridor by the afternoon. So north and west along that boundary, we have temperatures at a few degrees. We're talking 7, 8 degrees cooler. So that's pretty decent. But still quite toasty out here in southeast Oklahoma as we get into the afternoon. And then as we head into Thursday, here's where things ought to change. Oh, by the way, let me go to Thursday morning, right about here. So overnight lows on for Thursday night. Did I just jump? I did. Hold on. Hold that thought. Thursday morning is what I wanted. Overnight lows on Thursday morning, 70s to near 80s. So still a little warm, but not as warm as they will be tonight. Okay, and then Thursday afternoon, this is what I want to show you. Some big changes as far as temperatures are concerned. That's a big difference, right? There's a lot of 90s out there across the state versus widespread hundreds. So that's a little bit of a cool down as well. It won't last long. For example, here's Friday. We're back in a mixture of 90s and 100s. And then back into the weekend, Saturday, back into the mixture of 90s and 100s. So we're going to be on kind of a slightly cooler trend, just by a few degrees. So for again tomorrow here in Oklahoma City, might hit 105 again, depending on the timing of that front. Otherwise, upper 80s for Thursday and Friday, back up to around 100 degrees over the weekend or so. But none of that ridiculous record heat, of 110 degrees, anything like that. So that's what I have for you. That's good news there. So hope all that was helpful. We do occasionally get hot like this, believe it or not. It does happen. And we just deal with it. Luckily for us, you won't have to deal with this really extreme stuff for just one day versus having to deal with it for days on end. There's other hot spots in the world right now. Of course, always the southwestern part of the country to California. That's typical hot summertime. We call it summer. When I grew up, we called it summer. In England, in Europe right now, they're having a big heat wave. They have seen temperatures close to this before going back in time. So it's not like it's never happened. It just doesn't happen that often. And so right now they're having a good heat wave, and so everybody's freaking out over it, and they're getting some fires. And that's what happens when things dry up. So the climate is cyclical. In other words, we're going to have periods where we do heat these extremes, but the extremes go one way and the other. Obviously, hot on side on the cold side. and everything else averages out in the middle. We call it a bell curve distribution. You always have your outliers, and then you got the nice, smooth, pretty weather in between. It's always been that way. It'll always be that way. You cannot get rid of extremes. I'd love to control the weather personally, but it's not going to happen. So luckily, we mostly live in the middle. And when it gets on one end or the other, we all complain about it. And then it passes, and then we all forget about it until the next time around, which is 5, 10, 20 years from now, wherever it depends on whatever position of the globe it's at, and life goes on. So that's kind of how the weather's going here for today. So I hope that was, some good news for you. Otherwise, brace yourselves for some pretty hot stuff out there this afternoon. We do need the rain, though, so I do hope we got, fingers crossed, at least a little bit of it. I did not look long-term at the pattern. Let's see. I got a couple minutes. Let me do it real quick. All right, just because I'm curious. I'm sure you're curious. Is this stuff here to stay? You know what I'm saying? Let's hope not. For example, if I go down to the I showed this the other day on last Friday, I think it was. This is called the downscaled ensemble blend of the American model. Now, we'll tell you this. American model is way too hot. They redid the model last year, and we used it over the winter time. It did okay. The summertime, it is blowing. It's going way too hot in our short term. But the ensemble is a little bit better tapered down version of that extremity. But even then, it's still holding us around 100 degrees all the way up to the end of July into the early part of August. Now, keep in mind, we obviously are usually the hottest here in Oklahoma through the latter half of July into the first half of August. So it's not like this is unheard of. That's pretty much where we should be. Some years we don't see 100, and other years we get 40 days in a row of 100, and everything else in between. So let's go see jet stream pattern if we have any relief from that. And I'm going to go to, first off, we'll do the European. And we'll see what the little upper ridge does here for the weekend. You know what? What's good news is this is a little bit of a change. Oh, no. Let me go to the older version. Let me see what it does to that ridge after this weekend. Okay, so does it still move it overhead a little bit? Yeah, there's some signal of it, but it's not that strong. Overall, it still keeps it. It has a split view from east coast to west coast, but still tries to keep it going out here in northwestern parts of the country. That's always good for us because anytime it's out here in the northwest, you have a chance to have something rotate down, both in the way of some weak cool fronts and also these little batches of energy that rotate through. So it's not a bad pattern to be in. It's still a hot pattern. It's our typical hot pattern, but it's one that can surprise you with occasional relief. So I like the European long-term going through the rest of the end of July. So again, it's not all bad news, okay? Let me see what the American model does. Okay, so we're going to go through time here. Let's see, the spiraling motion out west, a little stop here in central and eastern Oklahoma and Arkansas for Monday with the high overhead. What does it do? It loves that high overhead, and then it pushes it into southeastern parts of the country. Splits. So now we have, drew this for you. We've got the high now out here and a high down here. And then we're caught in between with just this little area here. So a lot of times here you get stagnant flow in the atmosphere, right? And I'll tell you why. And that's, again, goes by our direction. So in other words, you have air that flows clockwise this way, and then you have air that flows clockwise this way. So what happens is you get this trough axis zone that kind of forms in between, and that can be a round of some thunderstorms and some cooler weather. So this happens to be right at the end of the month. So if this pattern were to play out, that's what we have to look forward to. So again, there's always little, highlights here for at least, a time or two in our extended. All right, after that, long term, it gets messy. Still a bit of a ridge action here, trying to hold out to the first week of August, but a very strong zonal flow west to east with a lot of energy zipping through, of course, the northern half of the country. We'd have to get a little taste of that to get some rain here. But, that's the way it is now on that long-term look. And then if I were to go just for fun, we'll look at the climate model. Climate model is, it can be entertaining sometimes. So let's just see what it seems to think will happen. Splits the ridge, west coast, then east coast to the end of the year. End of the month, rather. Let's see that little trough in between, kind of like the American model. So, hey, it picked up on that. All right, and then what happens after that? We go to August. What's it going to do for August? So it's got some tropical action going on along the coast of Texas the first week of August, which does move into Oklahoma and Arkansas. Hey, that'd be a nice little tropical rain relief for us. Okay, that could provide us a little nice relief for the first week of August. We shall see. Otherwise, there's a ridge developing on top just to the north of us. So the heat would bake across the central northern plains, and we'd get a little bit of a break from that little tropical energy. Otherwise, that ridge kind of dominates here across the north, all up into southern Canada. Now, that's where that can sometimes happen. That takes the heat with us from us to there, and they really bake. This is where Canada sees its worst heat for a few days, and they do get 100s up there because of it. All right, so now let's go into mid-August. That ridge focuses up across the northeast. Now remember, as long as this is happening, we're getting a little bit of a breakdown here from the heat, and it opens up the Gulf of Mexico for us to get some action. So our August may not be all that bad. And then looks like the ridge then reestablishes quickly out across the west looks like for the latter part of August, which puts us back into a northwest flow, which is allow these little weak troughs to come through, provide either a nice decent front with it and or some thunderstorms with it. So you know what, honestly, if you're asking me, it's not a bad weather pattern. We just have this little bump here in the road for July, for the middle of July. But after that, I see a lot of positive for us. So, it's moving. It's ebbing and flowing. It's good. So there you go. There's your long-term look all the way for the rest of our summer and how things will play out. And, of course, I'll detail all that stuff for you more as we go through week to week. I do a blog every Sunday and the afternoons. You can view it anytime, usually Sunday late day through Monday, and that'll get you covered all the way up for the rest of the whole week. And then I'll do it again on the following Sunday. It's usually what I try to do, unless I got something going on that takes my time or holiday or whatever. Those are the only other times I don't quite get one out, usually at that time. Let's see what else I got for you. I think that's about it. I'm excited because today I'm going to meet with my broker. You're like, your broker? I'm like, yeah, for real estate. So I got my real estate license. So I meet with my broker today, and I'm going to get signed up for all that. And so soon I'll be able to join my partner in crime, Jody Tuttle, for Team Tuttle Realty. And if you guys would like to buy or sell a home or looking, hey, check us out. I'll be willing to help you guys out. You can check out our website right now. It's called teamtuttlerealty.com. And you can put in all kinds of filters and narrow everything down that you could possibly want for a home. Makes it really easy and finds exactly what you're looking for. So check that out. It's called teamtuttlerealty.com. Otherwise, get my weather app, AT's Weather to Go. It's free on Apple and Google Play. It'll got the forecast for you every day for your backyard and keep you up to date. It's got a link to my blog and all my social media accounts, so you can follow the weather from AT's Weather side of things. And that's it for me. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday. Stay cool. Drink lots of water, fluid, AC, shade. You know the deal. And we'll get through today, and we'll continue on with the rest of the week. Guys, have a great day. Take care. Stay cool.